Hi guys, good afternoon and welcome to the Aquarify YouTube weekly show. Episode 1, Building Wealth Together with our special guest, Coach JV. Big warm welcome to the show, Coach JV. It's great to have you on here. Whereabouts in the world are you?
Oh man, I just came back from Connecticut. Now I'm in Arizona. So I went from humid to really, really dry heat, man. So I'm out in Arizona, man.
It's an honor to have you on. Thanks for joining us here. So just to give you all of our listeners an overview of the show. So we aim to deliver a rich and informative YouTube program that's going to drive the AcquireFi brand and product awareness. So this is going to be a 20 to 30-minute interview, freestyle conversation between myself and today with my special guest, Coach JV. And as the AcquireFi Chief M&A Officer, I'm going to be driving and leading the conversation around the concept of building wealth together, and we've topics of crypto M&A, crypto markets, and market trends, and of course brand initiatives and products that AcquireFi is going to be delivering over the foreseeable future. So just want to give you guys a big warm welcome and thank you for chiming in and listening to the show today. Thank you for joining us. This is the very first episode of the AcquireFi live weekly show. So I'm super excited to be here and have this fantastic opportunity to be on this platform and have the chance to drive the conversation forward about crypto, mergers and acquisitions, markets, investing and building wealth. And my passion, which is AcquireFi, and for me, and getting the opportunity to bring this to the markets as the Chief M&A Officer, I'm very, very excited. So I just wanted to share my background briefly with you guys so that you understand me more on the personal level. So I've been involved in mergers and acquisitions, the buying and selling of small to medium businesses over the course of the last 16 years. And back in 2017, when I discovered Bitcoin, like many did, back about 10 years ago, but I started to get more involved in crypto back in 2017, where I started to actually invest in the assets myself, and I developed a deep love and passion for crypto because I'm a big freedom guy, and that's why I'm super excited to have Coach JV with us, because I know that Coach JV is a big believer, driver of the freedom movement. So again, thank you, JV, for joining us and sharing that energy with us. So many of you might already be familiar with Coach JV. Perhaps you're part of the 3T Warrior Academy. And but for those who are not familiar with Coach JV, Coach is a former Wells Fargo vice president. He's the top crypto and mindset coach in the world. He helps business owners and individuals break free from the just over broke mindset by creating breakthrough performance and building wealth generating assets. Coach JV is also an author of 2 books, a host of a top motivational podcast, and social media influencer with over 1 million subscribers, and featured subject area expert with top media outlets as well. As you can all see, his resume is extensive and very impressive. But I have to add 2 more roles. Coach JV is an AcquireFi advisor and my long-term friend as well. Yep. So welcome, Coach JV. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you, man. It's such an honor to be part of this journey. And I always tell people it's the greatest time in human history. And it's so cool because when we met, you opened up my mind to mergers and acquisitions, right? So I was in the startup space and opened up my whole mind to a whole diversification process, and then getting introduced to AcquireFi that is changing the game as we're moving to Web 2.0 to Web 3.0, industrial to technical. And, there's these massive changes happening in social geopolitical changes, right? And to be part of AcquireFi and just to be part of an understanding, I always say understanding, not an understanding, an understanding of what's changing within our world. It's just an honor, man, to be here with you guys and just to be part of history. I mean, this is really history in the making. If you think about it, AcquireFi doing something revolutionary in regards to the M&A space in the fintech environment. So it's just an honor to be here, man.
I love how you use the word understand, because I've never been a fan of the word understand, because understand means standing under, but understand, explain to us more what understanding means.
Yeah. So when you say understand, so words have power, right? Everything we say has power. What you verbalize goes out in the quantum field, and what you say, your body responds to that. It creates a feeling and vibration, and your reticular activating system acts accordingly. So for a very, very long time, the words have been shared with us to indoctrinate us to believe a certain way. So when someone says, I understand, that means you're underneath the person that is sharing that information with you. So someone of authority comes to you and says, do you understand? And you say, yes, I understand. Now you're standing underneath that person and their rules. And so when you say understand, you're saying, I understand what you're saying. I'm holding my own sovereignty. I understand what you say. You are not above me. You are equal to me. And so I work very hard to use the word understand in certain settings to help people understand what's going on, right? And words have power. I think that's one of the biggest things we're experiencing right now in our human history, is that for such a long time, we've had one linear. I think, you said it the best on one of our interviews, is that, you sit at home and you look at a tube, and then or a box, and then you get into a box, and then you drive to a box. And as you're listening to that little box on the radio, as you're being indoctrinated the whole time to believe a certain way. And people like you and I have broken free from this box or the matrix, or creating our own matrix. And we're getting introduced to companies like AcquireFi and these new revolutionary things. And so I think it's important for people to understand versus understand, because you're underneath the authority of the person sharing you that information.
It's almost like you're following orders, then you understand. So understanding, I love your analogy and your breakdown of the word understand, but thanks for sharing that with us, JV.
Thank you.
And I just want to say to everybody that's listening to us now, I want to encourage all of you guys to post questions, and we're going to do all that we can to address all of the questions that you guys ask during this show. Now, the biggest question, of course, that I have is the fact that the current markets are shaking up investors of every caliber, from every asset class. Even gold has had people sitting on the edge of their seats. And of course, gold in a time of crisis is kind of built for recessions. It should be doing the opposite, which it's odd. It's very odd. And gold is kind of trading at the same place it was trading, many, many years ago. But you can say the same about crypto as well. We're now kind of back at 2018 kind of levels, a lot of the cryptos. So it's shaken up a lot of people. And, me, along with many others, we've taken a fair hit on our portfolios, or what was not sold of our portfolios. So, you describe, crypto as a long-term investment. How can we cultivate the resilience and patience to get through the tough times and hold long-term? And we take a look at people like Michael Saylor, who, the diamond hands, he'll be underwater heavily right now, but it takes a certain mindset and discipline to be able to weather the storm.
Yeah, it's mindset is everything in these markets. When it's the only way to survive these markets. You have to have a foundation of mindset and an understanding that all markets go in cycles, right? Weather goes in cycles. Everything goes in cycles. And you can say it's by design, or you can say it's not by design. But the fact is, when markets go up, they come down. And there's most of the people why they're not wealthy when these current paradigms are not, the top 1%, is because as everybody looks this way, the 1% are doing something completely different this way. And through wise counsel, you being one of them, is that thank God I learned diversification. And I used to say I was diversified, right? This is how I stay calm in the crypto markets and the markets in general. As I used to say I was diversified, and I would tell people about my crypto portfolio. And then some wise counsel was like, that's not diversification. They're like, diversification is diversifying outside of cryptocurrency. And so now I have my cryptocurrency, which is my investment. I have my businesses. I have equity in 9 companies. And, I learned that through mergers and acquisition with you. When people come to me, I'm like, I want equity in your company. If you want me to help you, so I've now diversified not only in my crypto portfolio, but in business, I'm diversified across different sectors, right? So having exposure across sectors. So when the crypto market's down, I have a crypto business. The other businesses are picking up, which is my business coaching business. Then a little bit of silver, right? I'm not heavily into gold, but I'm into silver. And then also my leveraged life insurance. And so that's something that really kept me calm, is that spreading diversification across all these different platforms. I started at a very, very small level. I mean, I'm very honest with people. 3.5 years ago, I was on my mom's couch, and I finally got fed up with being broke and making money, losing money, making money, losing money, because I was indoctrinated with those words like understand, and I followed the system and the news and the media. Instead, I started creating my own news and media and seeking wise counsel from leaders like you and people out in the marketplace. And so that's the biggest thing that people need to understand, is that those who can hold long-term in these markets and long-term fundamental real world solve utility cryptocurrencies, whether it's Bitcoin being a store of value, it's going to be a store of value. The CFTC is going to regulate as a commodity. I think we know that. I think the elites know that now. Ethereum is deep in the banking system with consensus, whether people like that or not, it's deep in the banking system. And then you got your altcoins that you have to look at to say, hey, are these going to be here? Are they solving a real world problem right now? And at our Warrior Academy, we teach that stuff. And then it's like, and then you got business like Aquarify that are changing the game, because a lot of these companies are now maturing. There's been crypto companies and fintech companies specifically, but a lot of crypto companies are maturing 10 years now that have real world solves for the ecosystem. And I think that's where my calmness comes from in this market, is if I was just in cryptocurrency, I'd be pretty upset right now, right? Everything would be smashed. My portfolio would be down. But instead of getting it set, we don't trip, we buy the dip, right? We dollar cost average in, we see massive pullbacks, we put cash on the sidelines to buy into those fundamental cryptos. So mindset is everything in these markets. And what I encourage people to do is to listen to people who are really in the long-term mindset. If somebody's constantly talking about, you're going to get rich off of this, you're going to get rich off of this, you're going to get rich off of this, you might want to check the YouTuber or influencer you're listening to, because it's like, that's not how you get rich. Wealthy is, I'm preaching the choir here. Wealth is a long-term, boring game. It's not that exciting. It's not that sexy, right? It's this long-term game. It's building businesses. And that was the biggest thing I learned from you, and is diversification in business, right? So we have a crypto business, and it went sideways with the crypto market, right? But I have a business coaching program that is doing very, very well, because the market is looking for a way to make revenue off of social media. So I was able to diversify. One picks up the other. And so I think that's the biggest thing for me, is diversification, not just in crypto, but outside of crypto.
Yeah, you say that it's taken you 3 years to get to where you are now. You've done exceptionally well over the last 3 years to get to where you are, building up various crypto businesses and the 3T Warrior Academy. So you came from the banking system. Mm-hmm. You were working VP of a bank, and at what point during your career were you introduced to crypto?
Oh man, I was against crypto when I left the bank. We were taught by, Jamie Dimon specifically. I know I was at Wells, but he was a big voice when crypto came out. I was just in 2017. That's when the last, big bull market, a lot of people were getting in back then. I was still in banking. I left August 2017. And back then, if you were in banking, a vice president, with cryptocurrency was a fraud. I mean, it was ingrained in our head that if you bought Bitcoin or you were trying to convince people to get into crypto. So I didn't have exposure to crypto until about 2019, to be completely transparent. And what happened was I was like looking to free myself from this indoctrination system. I knew, I was studying the Federal Reserve. Why? Well, let's talk about why I left banking. Is because, I was watching this with my own eyes, watching these big banking systems manipulate stock prices. I mean, I'm like, they're literally manipulating stock prices based on households. And I'm like, I got to see that as an executive. And I'm like, this is not what I want to do. We're not teaching people how to become financially wealthy. We're not selling the same products and services that the elites have access to. Elites have access to these pre-IPOs. They have access to, early businesses like Acquire.Fi is allowing the everyday person. They're democratizing and allowing the everyday person to get into this type of stuff. This used to be just for the elites and the people with the, 7 million or in these hedge funds and stuff like that. And I realized, I'm like, this isn't fair, man. The system doesn't seem fair. And as I broke free, I started looking for freedom. And I was introduced to cryptocurrencies. I saw the 5 coins to 5 millions. I think it was Tika Tawari.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And then so that's how my first introduction to it was. And then some guy walked into our facility and said, have you ever heard of this XRP? And so, I'm a big XRP fan because it's like someone being into CrossFit, right? I know banking very, very well. And so for me, I understand what XRP solves for the banking system. And so that's what attracted me to it, because when you understand something, you're more attracted to it, right? If you're a CrossFitter, you're talking about CrossFit. If you're a vegan. So I was like, wow, this makes sense to me. If I would have had this type of product or utility inside of banking when I was there, we could have solved some real world problems. And then understanding that where our markets are heading with, banks make money off capital markets income, like trading, interest income, and fee income. Well, all those are being smashed right now, right? People aren't walking into banks anymore. If the stock market comes collapsing down, there goes the capital markets income. And then interest income, with interest rates going up, the banks are going to need liquidity. And so I started to understand this. I'm like, wow, some of these blockchains and cryptocurrencies solve a real world problem, specifically for America, with we're in a liquidity crisis, right? We printed more money than in history in the last 24 months, and our debt to income is negative, right? And so I don't know how they're going to fix this economy other than creating massive amounts of liquidity. And then it goes, and you talked about gold prices and stuff, and then you look at, companies, hopefully I'm speaking, don't want to speak out, but, JP Morgan got in trouble for manipulating gold prices or silver prices, I think it was. And so the banks, they're so powerful and they have so much money that I wanted to democratize myself from that and figure out how I could become sovereign within my own ecosystem, right? Playing the game as well. And, not going outside the rules and stuff like that, but just operating like the elites. And I did it at a very small level. And, I'm not saying I'm some multi-millionaire or stuff, but I'm headed towards that. I mean, because of the decisions I've made, I went from being on my mom's couch broke to reprogramming my mind. It goes back to mindset. I had a broke mindset. I grew up in poverty, not working class family. We didn't think about wealth. There was no wealth in our family. So I kept going broke because this was broken. When I fixed this, I got introduced to people like you, got introduced to other mentors, and I started saying, okay, you guys think differently. So when I started thinking differently, I got access to more information. And once I got access to information, I started to get access to freedom. And now I don't work a day in my life. I travel around, I do interviews, and I help people live the same lifestyle. So
yeah, you made a good comment there as well. You mentioned diversification, and it's something that I picked up on many times over the years through crypto. People coming to me and saying that they're diversified, they've got all of this different things in crypto, but what they failed to understand was crypto is one asset class.
Yes.
And gold, silver, real estate, acquisitions, buying businesses, art, wine, whiskey, classic cars, stocks, shares. These are all different asset classes.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the word that you use, democratizing wealth, and that's essentially what AcquireFi is going to do, is democratize wealth so that the average Joe can build his legacy up with a few clicks of a button. And what I mean by that is that we have what we call acquire pools. So AcquireFi, yes, is a platform that's going to facilitate the buying and the selling of crypto companies with crypto on the blockchain, but we have investment pools. So we're branding them as acquire pools. And these acquire pools are going to include investments such as gold, silver, watches. We spoke about watches quite a lot. So investing in a strategic watch portfolio of rare watches, which speculative, but they go up in price over time. You get a tangible asset that you can touch, smell, and feel. And also what we're going to be doing is fractional ownership of companies, so that our investors can physically own a fraction of a company. So anything up to 20% of a company through NFTs. And then receive the dividends back through the blockchain again. So we're turning companies into NFTs. We're going to be turning real estate into NFTs as well. So this was the real use case of NFTs. Yeah, I think NFT artwork is amazing. It's super, super cool. But the real use case of NFTs is far greater than a JPEG. So these investment pools are going to completely open up a new paradigm.
Yeah.
Democratize wealth, where in the traditional world you would need to go through a hedge fund and jump through many, many different loops. A lot of these things were not available to the retail investor, but now we're democratizing that. And this is going to be available to everybody, so that you can go onto your dashboard, you can log in, you can say, okay, so within my portfolio, I have some gold investments, I've got some real estate, I own maybe a school, a government-backed funded school in the UK, so that's low risk. We've got a Web 3.0 company that we're investing in, and maybe we're going to invest in the Bitcoin fund as well. So we've got super diversification. I'm very, very excited about these investment pools. This is the next level. I've seen so many people going out there, me included, by the way, and throwing money into these decentralized protocols for these high APYs, which you don't really know where that money is getting invested in or back into. And we've seen all of these bad situations take place with Celsius, some of these other companies, the Terra Luna situation. I lost a lot of money myself on that. But these investment pools are bringing it back. They're bringing the ship back, and they're allowing normal, everyday people to invest in things that they know that they can touch, smell, and feel, and there's a physical asset behind it. So I know I've kind of gone off in one there with the investment pools, but I'm just very excited about them. But that's so there can be diversity. The point is there can be diversification in crypto, but it depends what you're investing in. Investing in a bunch of NFTs, investing in a bunch of coins, even Bitcoin, Ethereum. Yes, you are diversifying, but what we've learned is that when the big boy decides to pull his pants down and do a big brown one, then everybody's going to get covered, unfortunately. So this bear market, it's we're still in the cycle of the 4 years, which I'm a big believer in. We're in the 2-year bear market, 2-year bull market. Now we're, I would say that we are officially in the bear market. Bear markets for me are the time where you make money, not in the bull markets. Bear markets are where you take the leverage out. You go in next, or you take a loan. And so many people get wiped out and liquidated because they're over leveraged. The entire market was built on leverage. So what they're doing is halfway through a bull market, we're at 50K Bitcoin. You jump on Nexo and think, oh wow, I could get this much money from Nexo. They get a bunch of money, and then they get wiped out 6 months later through the liquidation. And I'll put my hands up. I've been caught there a couple of times now. I've been liquidated 7 figures on Nexo. So I am not scared to share my losses with the world. I only lose and invest I only invest what I'm willing to lose or what I can afford to lose. Again, I'm a little bit annoyed about it, but it's just one of these things. We get our ups, we get our downs, and we all make our mistakes, which we learn from. And mistakes for me are one of the biggest teachers, and they're one of the biggest attributes that I hold personally towards my own personal success. So just moving on to the market, we were speaking at the market forecast in terms of the 4-year cycles. Are you a believer of the 4-year cycle and the 2-year bear market, 2-year bull market? Because Bitcoin hasn't really been in a recessionary style situation. We have a unique situation, that we're about to walk into.
No, yeah, I completely believe in the 4-year cycles 100%. I mean, it hasn't proved us wrong yet. So it's like, I think people try to, trick the system. And that's why I focus on the long term. There's nothing, when I'm investing in my cryptocurrencies, I'm like, is this going to be here in the future? If it's going to be here, I dollar cost average in, we're not throwing large amounts of cash in right now. I personally think there's going to be a larger pullback with, who knows what's going to happen with the economy. In America today, we have the, preliminary elections. We have elections going down today. So there's going to be a lot of wildness going on in America coming up here. We keep raising interest rates. And so I'm the same as you. It's like, I love the bear markets, man. And I got liquidated on Nexo too. I want to, admittedly openly admit that people need to be very careful. I was buying in the bull markets, man. And I taken a loan out and I wasn't paying attention. I had too many things diversified in too many places, different exchanges. And, Nexo did their thing and they kept texting me. I could have just moved some Ethereum over and, I lost 17 Ethereum. I was like, oh my gosh. And so it happens though. Those are the greatest lessons that you learn again right now. And so one thing I want to bring up that's important about Aquarify, many things, but it's like we own a crypto company, right? We're launching a crypto app, a revolutionary crypto app coming up. The cool thing about Acquire.Fi now is if you're in the crypto space and you're building businesses in the crypto space, which a lot of people we know are, it's like now you have the ability to build, to scale, to sell, which before you're just building and you're kind of, like who knows, it wasn't like the physical paradigm marketplace, right, that you taught me. It's like now I can scale. I have a company called Merlin that we're scaling this app. And when we launch this, we can now scale to be a viable candidate for Acquire.Fi to try to sell our company in the open marketplace, which is interesting because as you build businesses, you always want to build to scale and sell, right? You don't want to, you go into business for freedom. And I think that's something that's really important. So, and there's so many young people with so many innovative ideas. And so as you build these companies, know that you have the opportunity, because I always build to scale. So as all my companies that I'm part of, and if they give me equity and I'm like, listen, what is our 5-year plan? What is our 10-year plan? And, what are we, I always look to see if, are we able to scale up? Are we building in layers to move so for example, I'm the influencer in my company. I'm building layers to scale myself up, that I could sell the 3T Warrior Academy if I wanted to, but Acquire.Fi gives me the opportunity to take my crypto companies and put that in the open marketplace, which is important. And I think something we were talking about before is fear, right? People have to understand the fear is inbred in us. It's by design. They want everybody so scared of cryptocurrency right now. They, whether it was by design, here's my paradigm, right? They just let all this stuff fly. People are getting massive percent on their money, and they knew They know that when somebody walks into a casino, right? They know human behavior. When somebody walks into a casino and they hit it big the first time, what do? Does a person usually walk out? No, they stay in the casino. They're like, I can do it again. I can do it again. I can do it again. And once they get the person in the casino, they get a few drinks in them, they get them locked in. Boom, they pull the plug. Next thing you know, they go negative, and then they start borrowing against their own money to gamble more, because it's an addictive thing. It's an addictive feeling, and they understand how human behavior works. So it seemed like we were all so leveraged. The exchanges were leveraged. They had everybody leveraged, and it was like, I don't know what happened with Terra Luna. I'm not an investigator, but boom, all of a sudden Terra Luna collapses, and then all of a sudden stablecoin regulation comes out. So it's like interesting. Right at the same time in America, they start talking about stablecoin regulation right after Luna collapses. So it's like, so people need to stay calm, like, and not be fearful, and really understand what you're investing in, which is important. So like the fear is what they want. They want you to be fearful in these markets, right?
You made a good point. I was just having a little laugh to myself. I've only been in a casino a couple of times in my life. I'm not one of these lucky guys that does competitions and which early won anything in my life. But I've been to casino for a bit of fun. And I just remember sitting around the blackjack table, and I was thinking, how strange. The waitress is bringing around free alcohol. And I said, I'll have a gin and tonic, please. Why are they giving me free alcohol? I just didn't get it. Thank you very much. I'll have another one.
Yeah, it's the Roman days, man. Put them in the Colosseum. They gave them free alcohol in the Roman days. Put them in the Colosseum. I mean, that's where we're at right now. And as this is happening, there's innovative companies coming out where people can. That's why I left banking, because it was like I saw the normal everyday person like struggling to pay their bills with having no financial education. I remember one time a single mom came in, and I'll never forget this story, man. And we were all real big on not reversing overdraft fees, because that was huge fee income, right, for the bank. The banks make so much money on overdraft fees. I remember there was a story that they were getting really strict on overdraft fees, and I won't share too much, but a single mom had come in, and she wasn't out partying in Vegas. She was buying diapers, and you could see their account, and she overdrafted like 5 times, and she had all these fees, and it just piled up on. And this lady's crying in our branch, and she is like, I just need to buy food for my baby. She doesn't have child. I saw no child support coming in, and they're like resisting reversing the overdraft fees. I'm like, why are we not educating these people on how money works, on financial education? And she went through the schooling system, and this poor young lady's just trying to buy diapers for her child, and we're hammering her with overdraft fees instead of educating on how to get out of that situation. All her credit cards are maxed, and she's just trying to survive. Her paycheck comes in, boom, it's gone. And that's when I started to get really frustrated. I'm like, we're not educating people, and only certain people, if you grew up in a certain neighborhood or you're part of a certain hedge fund, you had access to things. That's what excites me about these markets. You got all these companies now with crypto and blockchain democratizing. And that was the cool thing about this last bull run, is that normal everyday people got access to things that can make them very wealthy, but they didn't have the education or acumen that we properly should have got as young adults to be able to take that wealth and diversify, like I was able to do through wise counsel. So I think that's important. Don't be fearful. Understand that when people are in fear, that's when people are getting wealthy.
Yeah, man, I'm just not a fan of the banks at all. I've said repeatedly to people on social media that the bank is not your friend. The bank is not there for your benefit. You're there for the benefit of the bank. And they've completely weaponized pieces of paper here, especially in the UK. People are. It's got to the stage where people are scared to pay money into the bank. Now, I tried to buy a watch here in the UK. For not a lot of money, and the guy said to me, I can't take cash. He said, it's very difficult to pay cash into the bank. I said, take my details, take all of bits and pieces. He said, it's too much hassle. Just better to do a bank transfer. People get scared to handle pieces of paper here in the UK. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
But I'm just not a fan of the banking system. I always did say it was a scam. It's a fraud. And you've experienced it firsthand yourself. And this is why I'm a big believer in loving a crypto, because it gives the power back to the people. We can hold our own key. We can memorize 12 or 15 words inside our heads, and that's our bank account. We've got the full control. Yes, some bad stuff can happen, and you can get your wallets potentially hacked, but that's why you diversify. Have multiple wallets. Just be careful. I think we all make mistakes, but we learn from these mistakes. But I got to the stage now where I simply don't understand people that are not in crypto. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Have some money in crypto. For example, you could have a crypto.com card. So you can hold a little bit of crypto and you can transact. You can buy your shopping with crypto. It's pretty easy to understand once you get your head around how it works. But I think people like you are doing a great job by educating the world on crypto, how to use crypto, what crypto is. I think you do that in the 3T Warrior Academy, don't you?
Yeah, it's a 3T Warrior Academy, www.3twarrior.com. We have a whole education platform, 130 cryptocurrency courses, 7 calls a week, mostly the community. I mean, we come together because there's so much information out there. It's like we silo all the information into one place and provide people a tribe, a community of like-minded people lifting each other up. We do business, we do fitness, mindset, cryptocurrency, day trading, everything you can think of. It's like, imagine walking into like a university, right? And you get to pick the door that you want to go into. And soon we're going to be going into the metaverse, man. We're actually building it right now, where you'll go walking in and you'll be like, oh, there's Ken Mack and Coach JV. I'm going to go hang out with them and talk wealth, right? And or you can go work out with Coach JV in the morning, or like it's really cool. We actually designed our first metaverse gym, and so we're gonna. The whole world is changing, man. It's gonna be really like me and you'll be sitting in an interview room. People could sit in the room and interview with us, and we're gonna revolutionize the education space.
Yeah, I remember first getting into crypto. It was a lot to get the head around, and you're doing all the digging the search on Google and the YouTube channels. And I suppose if you get everything all in one place, all of the information, what is crypto? How do you invest in crypto? What is a wallet? How do you create a wallet? What is the best cryptos to invest in? Then it would have made my life a lot easier. So no, respect for putting that together for the people. And then we touched on fear. It's a term used to describe the sentiment when the crypto markets are down. If the fundamentals of sound cryptocurrencies have not changed, then what is it exactly that we're fearing?
Oh my God, the story, the understanding, right? So yeah, exactly. I love that comment. Nothing's changed with the fundamentals of these cryptos. If you believed in your crypto in the beginning, why don't you believe in it now? Because someone was able to indoctrinate fear into you through a story that they're telling in order to move a market a certain way, right? And so that's the biggest thing. What we unindoctrinate people is to understand is if you buy something and you believe in this phone, you use your phone every single day, and the Apple stock collapse. If you think if this phone is going to continue to be something you're going to purchase and you trust, know, and like Apple, then why would you panic when your stock collapses, right? If you think do you think the Apple phone is just going to disappear? The stock price is going to come back at some point when the markets come back. So would you just throw away the baby with the bathwater because you're holding an Apple iPhone, right? For example, VeChain. I'll just throw out VeChain, for example. I want to talk about XRP all the time. VeChain, it's already operating in Shanghai, Walmart, McDonald's. They're already, and the CEO travels 278 days a year. I study the leadership teams, the board of directors. I look at, things like Aquarify. Look at the team of Aquarify. It's one of the top teams out there. Those are things you want to look at. So what makes you think that the company is just going to disappear, right? And so it's just such an interesting dynamic. The fear is designed. That's just how you move people. So if I come to somebody and I'm positive, or if I can move someone through fear very, very quickly, very, very quickly. Client food shortages are coming. What are people going to do? They're going to panic. They're going to run to the stores. Like, you can move people very, very efficiently and quickly through fear, right? Positive, hey guys, food shortages are coming. Hey guys, get ready. It's like, but if you tell people that all the cows are dying and all this stuff is happening, fear mechanisms make people move. And unfortunately, fear fuds people out of very important investments, that they're going to be one of those people 10 years from now. Yep, capitalism on this fear. Yep, it's been by design forever, right? It's like fear is, narcissists use fear to control people, right? They're just like, it's just an interesting dynamic. So if you can get over the fear mechanism and build your own narrative and your own story, which is what I've worked on feverishly the last 4 years, coming up on 4 years, is I have my own narrative. Like, I don't fear anything. It doesn't matter who becomes my president. I'll respect whatever they do. I stay within the parameters of the laws. I pay my taxes. I do the best I can. I realize that the tax laws actually are designed for me to put money into the system, to help employ people, to give more to charity. And so instead of looking at the tax laws as something negative, I looked at it as a way to, okay, so I'm going to hire more employees. I'm going to build more companies. I'm going to get more tax benefits. And I started to flip my brain instead of fearing taxes, I'm like, well, I want to have more tax burdens and I want to be able to navigate through those, right? I'd rather have more tax burdens than less. And so I think it's just a thing that we've been bred into that, that's what I want to talk about, like the fear thing. So I was always fear. People were like, oh, if you make more money, you pay more taxes. Our Biden's tax laws for people who make over 450,000 in America are pretty rough. But I thought about it. I'm like, okay, once I got my first big tax bill, I was like, okay, how do I navigate this? And when I looked at the tax laws, it's actually designed for me to hire employees. That's awesome. I'm doing a great thing for society. It's designed for me to give to charity, right? And so I just started adding more companies to my portfolio, buying more things that are going to give me tax benefits. And guess what? In turn, that makes me more money. And I was like, it was just a different mindset, right? Everybody gets so like, well, if you're the tax bills and tax, everybody's afraid of taxes. It's like, well, I would rather have large tax bills and be able to try to mitigate those versus just being just over broke. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just indoctrinated to fear that stuff.
You made a good point there. I was speaking to a couple of students this morning that acquired a bunch of companies this year, and we're discussing taking your income through an SPV and structuring everything through a corporation as opposed to taking money at the company as an employee. Like in the UK, you pay as you earn tax. And I was explaining just exactly like you said, that the tax laws are actually designed in our favor. The tax law is our friend in business if you understand how to use it to your advantage. So it's not actually a bad thing. If you're on the other end and you're paying income tax, pay as you earn in the UK, then you're one of the highest taxpayers in the country. So the tax laws are a good thing, and like you just need to take the time to understand and get that. The tax laws are very, they can be very difficult to understand because it's a big topic, but it's purposefully designed that way, as opposed to confuse you. But once you take the time to understand it, then you come to the conclusion that, like you say, it's designed in the favor of the people.
Yep. It's just, and it's all that what it is. A lot of the fear comes from things that are passed down, right? Our grandparents went through the Great Depression. And so it's like, so think about what's going to happen is there's, we're going through a recession, a massive recession, right? It's going to be, in America, they changed the way a recession is defined, but I think the public agrees we're in a recession. People can't pay for their gas. People can't buy food. So I think we all agree that we're in a recession. And so it's like, we are indoctrinated from what was parroted down from our grandparents, right? Money doesn't grow on trees, blah. And it's just this constant parroting. And so when somebody says something, they don't even know or understand why they're saying that. It's because they were understanding under the direction of someone else, and they just pass that information down, right? So for me to take advice from people within my current paradigm or my family that haven't experienced wealth or experienced any type of tax bill like that, it would make no sense. You need to seek wise counsel, right? So I seek wise counsel of people who've been through that. And then one of them's like, hey, listen, if you have higher tax burdens, you just got to learn how to navigate the tax laws and not go outside the system, but give more. I'm giving more money to charity than I've ever given in my life. And it feels really good. I'm like that. I'm building, I'm giving money to Habitat for Humanity. We're building homes for people who are that can't build homes for themselves. I'm like putting roofs over people's heads. I'm like, that is really cool. And I get these massive tax benefits for doing it. Instead of giving it, to Uncle Sam, I'm giving it to somebody who needs a home over their head. And so a roof over their head, excuse me. So yeah, it's exciting times. I think people also too see us so calm. It's like, that's in my intents in regards to my actions based on what's happening within the current reality. Absolutely. I'm not taking this lightly, what's going on with our economy, but I'm very relaxed in the fact that I understand the game now. And so even if everything got taken from me, I'll be able to rebuild very quickly. And that comes from not living in fear.
Yeah, you're right. As entrepreneurs, we're incentivized to use the tax laws to our advantage. And certainly we don't want to be living in fear. And I hope that anybody that's listening to this now is taking something away from this show. And it's to stay as far away from fear as possible, because when your vibrational frequency of your body is low, then you're living in a state of fear. But if you learn how to raise your vibration to the highest level possible, then you're going to be living in a much different mindset, and that's for sure. And I stay away from all of the bad media, as much fear and toxicity and negativity as I can, because for me it's very important to maintain my state of happiness. And just thinking about the markets again, Coach GB, when the markets are down, how can we empower ourselves And what avenues can we look for to build wealth in a time like now? Everybody's scared. They don't want to invest. They're looking at the fear and greed index. They're like, what can I invest in? When can I invest? When's the best time to invest? What avenues would you say that we can look into to build wealth in a time like now?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is an investment strategy that we're teaching at the Warrior Academy is right now just dollar cost average in. Don't mortgage your house. Don't get credit cards. And like I hear these people preaching to go get to cash out a credit card. It's like, no, just create different sources of income by creating a budget, right? First, cut out frivolous spending, get some extra cash flow coming in, create cash flow. That's what you need to do. And dollar cost average in, just buy the same amounts of fundamental cryptos that like, and trust every single Friday, once a month or something like that. And then when you see big pullbacks, when everybody's panicking, when everybody's really freaking out and you see this massive drop down, that's when you take your cash and you put bigger chunks into things that you feel are going to be here for the long term. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm just dollar cost averaging in. I use my leveraged life insurance. I'm really obsessed with leveraged life insurance, which is, people call it infinity banking. And I don't know if it's across the world, but I know it's in America. And so for me, I'm putting a good amount into my leveraged life insurance, which guarantees my principal. And that's in America. If you look up MPI, M as in Mary, P as in Paul, I as in India, that it's a form of life insurance, not the typical life insurance we're always sold. We always are told to insure our lives, right? But nobody insures their wealth. And so I started insuring my wealth. And so now I feel very comfortable because if I put the same amount every single month for the rest of my life, I'll retire with $130,000 retirement income. And I started 2.5 years ago with this policy, right? And so guaranteed, and then I can borrow against myself as a bank, so I can operate as my own bank. So if in 4 or 5 years I have a large amount in there, I can borrow against myself, still compound and pay myself back, which is really interesting. So those are some of the things that I'm doing right now. I'm focused on building businesses, right? I think that's really important. If somebody who has can shorten the timeline to success. One of the big things in the ecosystem now is, I built $1 million company off of TikTok. People are like, what do you mean? Like, that's for dancing kids? No, I built $1 million company. I'm building another $1 million company, an education platform. Very, very low overhead. It's just information, bringing communities together and teaching people to shorten the timeline to success. So those are some of the things that I'm doing currently in my investment strategy. I'm really heavily focusing on business right now because I feel like the education system, like what we're doing right now, you and I are educating people. It's not some CNN show or anything like that. We're normal, everyday people who are actually living this stuff and teaching people. I believe this is a new form of education for the future generations.
Absolutely. You won't see anything like this on CNN or certainly on the mainstream. The agenda is to the effect that they don't want you to get wealthy. And they'll do everything that they can to put as many roadblocks in the way as possible. But I'm just thinking, this is why we built Aquarify, so that it's giving the average investor the opportunity, like a comment here. Watches don't need upkeep like real estate or cars. That can invest in a bespoke portfolio of watches, for example. So you could, if you don't want to be investing in speculative crypto assets just now, then for example you could be waiting until we launch the Acquire pools. Invest in real estate, invest in cars, invest in some watches, and then just spread your investment portfolio, your risk across various different asset classes. And this, for the first time, you're going to be able to do this with crypto. This is crazy. It's amazing.
That's amazing.
So, for those that want to start investing in the crypto markets, for example, I would I'm personally waiting until towards the end of the year, Q4, and then, like you say, I'm going to be dollar cost averaging back into the markets, because if you don't buy in a bull market, you buy in the bear market.
Right.
That's when you buy. And all of the indicators, to be quite honest, are everything's at a discount. Bitcoin is 70% down from the all-time high.
Yep.
It's 69K now. It's kind of like 3 for the price of 1.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you made a loss in crypto, then now is the time to recuperate these losses. And there's nothing wrong with buying some crypto now. Absolutely nothing wrong. Not investment advice, but paying attention to the very important point, and that's not going all in and just investing small amounts of money that you don't need to see for the next couple of years, because the cycle goes like this. We're going to be in a bear market until 2024. Bitcoin's going to have a halvening event, as it did in March 2020. It's going to happen around March 2024. Probably about 6 months after the event, we're going to see the effects of the halvening, and then we should start to see the start of the beginning of the next bull run, which should take us into maybe a year and a half later. So I'm going to be preparing now for the future.
Mhm.
When you invest a little bit now, you're buying a little bit of the future. When you spend a little bit of money now, you're spending a little bit of money in the future. So for me, I like to focus most of my earnings, most of my life on buying a little bit of the future, and you can enjoy what you're investing in as well. It can be tangible, even non-tangible. I genuinely enjoyed buying my Bitcoin on a weekly basis. I genuinely enjoyed building my watch portfolio. I can wear them. I genuinely enjoyed going to the gold dealer in Dubai and picking up my gold purchase on a weekly basis.
Yep.
It's for some people that's a little bit inconvenient. So that's what AcquireFi is going to do. It's going to give you access to immediate investments without you having to go and collect the physical asset and put it into safe custody yourself.
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay, so I just want to check if there are any questions from our audience just now before we get towards the end of the show. Before we do, I just want to, what we're trying to do here, guys, at AcquireFi is to intersect TradeFi and DeFi for mergers and acquisitions investing and make wealth building through acquisitions inclusive to all investors. Okay, so I just want to ask Coach GB. Let's dive into investing in real world assets and investments that are inflation proof. In terms of your portfolio just now, are you just investing in the crypto markets, or have you got any kind of real world assets that you're investing in just now that are inflation proof?
Yeah, so interesting. Well, like you were talking about the gold markets, right? So I'm investing in silver. Transparency, I don't have a lot of silver. I don't have any gold. But what is inflation proof for me is businesses, man. It's like, you want to beat inflation, start a business. And, it's like in the way that I'm looking at it in regards to the education, I'm revolutionizing the education system with the reciprocity system. And it's like, you have access to thousands of people to share your information with them at a very low overhead, right? And so we're beating inflation. And it doesn't matter what gas prices are. It doesn't matter what food prices are. We can continue to write our own checks based on allowing people shorten the timeline to success. So that's what, to be honest with you, that's one of my biggest hedges against inflation is starting these education companies online using apps like TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. And I couldn't believe that I've been able to do that. And it's, you hit while the iron's hot, right? And so because, you talked about gold, I mean, gold is going down. It's like, man, it's supposed to be a hedge against inflation. And so it's such an interesting dynamic, but we know anything that's out of our control, controlled by the central banks, or they can manipulate the prices, right? They're going to control that. And so, but businesses, you and I can create, and we can write our own paychecks. And so that's my biggest hedge, honestly, against, and also my leverage life insurance, which, I know we have people from all over the world watching this and people asking. You can DM me on Instagram. I'll send you my contact, but it's not the context for the show, but it's like, that's a hedge against deflation, right? And so it's not really hedge. It's holding my principal. But business for me, man, I don't know about you, but business for me is a hedge against, it doesn't matter what the market does, as long as I'm providing good value to the marketplace, I can continue to grow my business portfolio.
Fantastic. I think you've answered that question as well. What do you use to ensure your wealth and borrow against yourself? That was the MPI life insurance policy.
Yeah, it's I don't use MPI, but it's a form of it. MPI is I can't remember the acronym, sorry, but if you look that up, or leverage life insurance, Waka Flocka Flame, the rapper, is making it famous on TikTok. It's a lot of athletes are using it, and it's you're insuring your wealth, basically. We're taught to insure our life, but this actually insures your wealth in America. And I don't know if you guys have that type of stuff in other countries, but it's a really I'm obsessed with leverage life insurance. So the next bull run that comes, I'll be pulling profits and securing that into my retirement, because I'm not mixing my investments with my retirement anymore. Retirement is different. So any profits I get from business and from crypto, I put into leverage life insurance, or more secure things that are going to guarantee my principal. So,
okay, guys. Well, listen. I know that we've run on a little bit. I want to thank everybody that's been staying with us since the beginning of the show. And I want to encourage you guys as well to follow Coach JV and the 3T Warrior Academy on YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. I'm going to get the handles put down in the description of this video. But if you could just tell everybody, Coach JV, how they can find you.
Yeah, simple. So it's the nice thing with my name, Coach JV. Just go to Google, type in Coach JV. My Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, everything will come up. If you type in Coach JV on Google, all my social media platforms will come up, to include my YouTube channel as well, 32 Warrior Academy, Twitter. So it's my handles across everything, and that will give you access to everything we do at the Warrior Academy.
Thanks, Coach EV. And I just want to encourage our audience as well to subscribe to the YouTube channel, yes, and to like this video, so that we can help get this information out to as many people as possible, because that's going to help us build the AcquireFi community. The bigger the community, the bigger the benefit for all of us, especially when we start rolling out the Acquire pool. So we have a full stack of videos about AcquireFi that I encourage you guys to check out and watch. Some very informative videos. And I just want to announce as well that we have the Fireside Chat with AcquireFi CEO Jan on Thursday, August the 4th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the AcquireFi Telegram channel. And the links will be pretty low. So I just want to thank Coach JV for joining us, and invite you back to join us any time you'd like to come on the show. So I want to thank everybody as well for staying with us. And I'll look forward to seeing you guys for another installment next week.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.